Hello there, Super Recaps here. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. Watch out for spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to review A Violent Prosecutor. This film tells the narrative of a prosecutor who sets out to find the truth in order to establish his innocence after being accused of killing a mobster during his interrogation. He has been wrongly imprisoned for 15 years. Behind bars, he devises a strategy for eluding capture and launching a counterattack against those who framed him. How do you think he'll go about it? Let's see what we can find out. The film begins with a group of activists taking part in a protest against the Isan project, a land development that pollutes the environment. However, a group of criminals posing as activists arrive and purposefully cause a disturbance, resulting in a conflict between activists and police. Seok, one of the thugs, beat a cop to death. Byun, a temperamental prosecutor who frequently uses violence during his interrogations, brings Seok to the police station and interrogates him. Byun asks Seok a lot of questions in order to figure out who's behind the mayhem, but Seok doesn't give clear answers. Seok continues to spout rubbish while using an inhaler to assist him to breathe. Byun becomes irritated with Seok and hits him. Byun returns to the interrogation room the next day to discover that Seok has died. All evidence points to Byun as the major suspect because he was the last person to visit and hit Seok. Byun defends himself in his first trial, claiming that Seok's death was caused by his breathing difficulty. Seok's companion, Jae-wook, claims that Seok was the strongest of the group and that he didn't have any breathing problems. Furthermore, the inhaler that Seok had previously used is missing from the crime scene. Byun has no solid evidence to back up his claim of innocence. As a result, he is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Byun is tormented and beaten in prison by inmates he has previously prosecuted. While watching TV, Byun noticed his boss, as well as an assistant prosecutor general, Gil, participating in the Isan project's launch. He even resigned from his position to run for mayor of Pohang. Byun feels something strange has happened. He remembers Gil had agreed to assist him during the trial. Gil, on the other hand, said nothing and simply stood by and watched Byun be prosecuted. Gil has deceived Byun, and he understands it. He has no alternative but to live in the jail, despite its inconvenient and difficult conditions. However, because of his legal expertise and experience, he is able to resolve legal issues for guards and police. He even assists certain inmates in obtaining sentence reductions. In prison, he is given a particular position and privilege as a result of this. In addition, the inmates start to appreciate him and are loyal to him. 5 years later, a young con artist named Won is arrested and imprisoned, where he encounters Byun. Byun discovers that Won and Seok may be related. Byun promises him help to get out of prison one day, but in exchange, he must assist him in counterattacking those who framed him. Won agrees. Back then, Won was a jobless man who had recently gotten an unnamed job. Seok was then introduced to him as a colleague. Won, Seok, and the other men were dispatched to the Isan project, disguised as activists, to disrupt the demonstration. They were bribed by a mob boss named Jang to create mayhem in order for activists to fail to protest the Isan project. Byun devises a well-thought-out strategy to confront the large guy after learning the truth. With the help of Won as his con artist, he tries to catch Seok's real murderer from prison. To carry out his scheme, Byun must first free Won from prison. He can finally get Won out of jail after figuring out the flaws in his case. Won quickly pays a visit to Jae-wook, who had previously testified in court, in order to learn more about Seok's breathing problem. Since Seok's inhaler went missing, Byun has been suspicious. Won begins recording Jae-wook's talk when he becomes drunk. He unconsciously admits that he lied to the police regarding Seok's health state. He reveals that Seok was certainly frail and suffering from asthma. He may die in an instant if he didn't have his inhaler. Jae-wook also claims that Jang directed him to testify falsely. After then, the recording is smuggled into the prison and handed over to Byun. Byun begins preparing his documentation for a retrial. Byun ultimately submits his documentation to the court, along with the audio recordings. Jang discovers it first and immediately informs his employer, who happens to be Gil. Gil, Byun's boss at the law firm, reveals out to be the brains behind it all. Gil first instructed Jang and his men to interrupt the demonstration, but Seok unexpectedly killed the police officers. Gil, who was campaigning for election back then, was terrified that Seok would reveal that the turmoil had been planned and orchestrated by him. He then went to the interrogation room, where he beat up Seok and stole his inhaler, causing Seok's death by asphyxia. Gil disposes of the evidence by tossing away the inhaler after killing Seok. Returning to the present, Won begins to be concerned for his own safety when his friend, Jae-wook, was severely battered after revealing the truth. Byun, on the other hand, calms him down and urges him to look into Gil's financial report. After that, Won joins Gil's campaign as a supporter. He has the opportunity to become friends with a female who works in Gil's financial department. Won gets closer to the girl and manages to get a hold of Gil's private financial statement. Gil's financial statement is released to the media the next day. It is revealed he receives dubious funding from the proprietor of the Asin project. This leads to the conclusion that Gil has been bribed to take over the Asin project. Byun's retrial application, on the other hand, is denied by the prosecutor, but Byun persuades him and reveals that his previous testimony was spurred by Gil, who promised to assist him out but instead sent him to jail. The prosecutor begins to have doubts about Gil and grants Byun's request for a new trial. Gil is furious when he learns of Byun's retrial permission the next day. He tries a variety of tactics to prevent Byun's retrial. He bribes the warden to have all of Byun's documents destroyed in the jail so that Byun can't concentrate on his retrial preparations. Not only that, but Gil also orders Young to beat and murder Won. Fortunately, a bunch of cops arrives to stop Young from hitting Won with a hammer. Gil bribes the Wander to stab Byun on the day of the retrial hearing in order to keep him from going to court. Won becomes agitated, whilst Gil appears to be in control. Byun, on the other hand, appears at the last minute, looking fine. They can ultimately compel Gil to testify in court with the help of Won as a witness and the trial attorney. Gil has excellent replies to all of the inquiries and has his own alibi to show his innocence. Byun then plays a clip of Gil and another man talking about the inhaler that went missing 5 years ago. The tape is paused, and Byun pulls out an inhaler, claiming it is Sok's missing inhaler. Gil reacts immediately, it's a hoax. Byun's remark has entrapped Gil. If he can say it's a phony inhaler, it suggests he knows exactly where the genuine one is. Byun keeps recording, and it's discovered that the genuine one was thrown into the Han River. Gil is unable to utter a single word. The prosecution found him guilty of murder and covering up all of his blunders throughout the years. Byun gets up in front of the court at the end of the story, acknowledging that he was a violent prosecutor in those years, but that the 5 years he had served in prison were sufficient to cover his sins. He has already paid the price and is prepared to rejoin society. Byun has been proudly released from prison thanks to his partner, Won. Do you believe Byun and Won's plan was epic? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for viewing, and I hope to see you again soon.